Hello and good evening. Good evening. We are here. We're here for Making Me Matter radio show right here at 8 Squad Rebel Radio. And I see that you that are on Facebook, you're signing on. It's good to see you this evening. And all of you that are out on the different platforms, the radio stations, it is an honor and a pleasure to join you this evening for the Making Me Matter radio show. Yes. So if you are a regular listener of Tiffany and Lance, you already know that I am sitting in for today and then again on next week. It's been for a period of 3 weeks. And Tiffany and Lance have taken a pause for the cause. And that is for some self-care. And I am actually giving you a heads up because that's going to be our topic tonight. We're talking about self-care. But before I jump in, let me formally introduce myself. Some of you may not have met me before. So my name is Dr. Carla Cooke. I am a psychologist. I have a private practice in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, by the name of Sanctuary of Hope and Healing. That's Sanctuary of Hope and Healing. If you would like to find me there, feel free to go to my website, which is sanctuaryofhopeandhealing.com. I am also an emotional empowerment coach. What that means is that I want to make sure you have the knowledge, the resources, and the tools to live successfully, live optimally, and be your entire best self. And that's why I come and I speak about the topic of emotional health. I actually have an absolute passion for talking about it. I also am an author. I authored the book called On Being Well Workbook, Foundations of Positive Emotional Health. And if I have to say so myself, you really do want this book in your hands. This is a workbook. It allows you to get information on different topics, actually 21 tools and strategies to promote positive emotional health. It really is a resource to help you be emotionally strong, manage the vicissitudes of life, the ups and the downs, as well as all of the blessings that come rolling in for us. And again, it's called the On Being Well Workbook, Foundations of Positive Emotional Health. And guess what? Yes, you can get that right on my website at Sanctuary of Hope and Healing. And there's actually an excerpt on the website. So just why don't you go on over there and take a look at that. I also am the host of a Facebook Live program, and it's on my page, On Being Well. I would love for you to join me there, On Being Well. And I just want to say that I only provide professional recommendations or advice within the context of a patient and psychologist relationship where there is a signed contract in place. My role, as we are talking, is as an emotional empowerment coach. And the information that I'm sharing is for informational purposes only. It's not a recommendation for medical or psychiatric care, and nothing that I say is intended to be a substitute for quality, good, professional psychology, psychiatry, or medical treatment. So I see that those of you that are on Facebook, I just want to say, hey, shout out, Allison, I see you. Stephanie, I see you. Let's see. Well, I'm going to go back and forth as soon as I can make sure I can scroll down on this computer. So just know I do see you. I'm shouting out at you. I believe the host of Making Me Matter is on, Miss Tiffany Barker herself. She has logged on. Although she is away, she is very present. And so it's always a pleasure to see her. I'm so honored to be sitting right here in her seat. Yes, I can feel it. I feel it on my bottom. Listen, call a friend, share the live. Please share the live. Have other people come and join us. You know, sharing is caring. and get your comments ready, get your questions ready. As I already said, we're going to be talking about self-care. If you're on the radio stations, I just want to welcome you in. If you're on your way home from work, sit back, relax, and listen in. And those of you that are looking on Facebook, whether you're on a Squad Rebel Radio page, or if you're on my page, or someone has shared, I just want to welcome you, and I just want to thank you for participating. And I am hoping that you'll be able to hang in there, stay with us. You're gonna be in for a treat. Excellent information is going to be shared. Okay, yes, if I have to say that myself. It's good information. I've spent some time preparing just for you. Also, there will be a giveaway tonight and some important information from your hosts, Tiffany and Lance, about how you can participate in the efforts to support those that have been affected by the tropical storm Florence in North Carolina. So, we also have a sponsor tonight. And the sponsor is our live TV show. And the host and creator and visionary for that show is Monique White. And guess what? Yep, she is coming to New Jersey. She's housed in Houston, although she touches worldwide because she is on various social media platforms. But she's going to be live and in person right here in New Jersey. So you're going to want to watch out for that. And the way you can hear about that is tuning into Making Me Matter, because she's going to show up right here. Yep, she'll be in this seat too. So shout out to all of her fans in the Houston area. What Monique does, she addresses topics on mental health and domestic violence. And she has a show actually in 2 days on the 22nd. Her show will be on teen pregnancy. And so you want to check her out on Instagram. You can find her at Our Life Show. On Facebook, Our Life. On Twitter, she's Our Life. And on YouTube, she's Our Life TV Show. So that is our sponsor for tonight. And as I said, if you're looking on Facebook Live, you can see, I believe, if not, it'll be up shortly. As I said, Tiffany and Lance, they are getting behind the effort to support those that have been devastated and affected by the tropical storm Florence. You know, I was reading an article on it, and so many people have been in shelters because their homes have been destroyed. Just so much devastation, still power outages. You know, there's a need for food and water and shelter and so many things. And we can be a part of that effort. And Tiffany and Lance, what they would like you to do is, I'm going to give you a number that you can text. You can text the word Florence to 20192. Excuse me, let me start over, okay? 201-982-7444. That is, you are going to text the word Florence, Florence, to 201-982-7444. And the Making Me Matter show is looking for 3,000 people to partner with them with a donation of $50, a donation of $50. And so if you can, maybe sacrifice a dinner out, a carton of cigarettes, which would I know is even more than that. Or maybe you don't have to sacrifice at all. Maybe it's just really a matter of that this has landed on your heart and you want to be a part of this. And so feel free. And I'm going to be mentioning that again. And guess what? Who is on Facebook Live? It is Monique White. And she has reiterated that, yes, on the 22nd, there's going to be show is next month. Okay, so it's October 22nd, Monique? Okay, I was saying September. So her next show on the 22nd of next month will be on teen pregnancy. And I'm going to be repeating that again. So hang in there, sit tight. Get yourself some a nice cup of tea. Put your feet up, because it is time to make you a matter. Make me matter. We're going to jump right in. We're going to make this a time where you can make yourself a priority. Sonia, I see you. You're saying hello, hello back to you. I'm so glad you're on. Linda, so glad you're on. Allison, always an honor and a pleasure to see you. And Janice, you are on. Thank you so much for being on. I hope you guys have shared. Sharing is caring. This is some me time, some time to make yourself a priority. This is a time to just unplug and unwind and unapologetically let this be all about you. Let it be all about you. Love you too, Allison. Let me see some love, some hearts. You know, Allison just talked about love. Every time I hear that word, you know, my heart, I need to feel it in my heart. And the love button helps me. So any loves and any likes, you know, don't be shy. And any comments, I'm definitely looking at your comments, as you can see. So listen, last week we talked about the advantages of unplugging from the busyness of life. And I'm seeing the hearts. Thank you, and the likes. I'm feeling it, and back at you. So we talked about this topic, and really Tiffany and Lance were the impetus for this topic, because they had decided to take a break. And one of the things that I talked about and still feel today as I'm sitting here is that they really have provided this example for us about it being important to be refreshed. And I really do applaud them for their wisdom. And so this week, I want to discuss the topic of self-care more broadly, because unplugging, that is a way that we take care of ourselves. It really falls under the umbrella of self-care. So I want to dive a little bit further in to this topic of self-care for your consideration. And Donna, I see you. Good evening to you as well. And Judy Ann, I see that you have just signed in, and it is good to see you as well. You know, I am going to be taking calls. If you're looking, the phone number is 973-845-4505. And so, yes, I'm going to be taking your calls and talking directly to you about this topic of self-care. So if you know me, you know that I like to rely on reliable information. I love to participate in webinars. I like to read articles, books, blogs, all of that, because there's so much information that is available to us to really help enhance who we are and help us enhance our lives. And there's a wonderful blog that I usually follow called Psych Central blog. And so I want to use their blog to talk about the definition of self-care, just so we're all on the same page about what is self-care, what is it, and what it is not. So from this blog, they talk about self-care is any activity that we do deliberately, intentionally, in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. Although it's a simple concept in theory, it's something we very often overlook. Good self-care is key to improved mood overall, and it's also key to a good relationship with oneself and others. And I'll just interject there. We do know, those of us that are listening, that we commonly talk about self-care. It's something that we do. I don't necessarily think that we're really trying to tease out the definition, and very often we're kind of pretty much engaged in our life. And although we know self-care is so important, sometimes we can find that it falls by the wayside. So although it's a simple concept, although it's a common concept, it's something that we talk about, something that we believe in, sometimes it definitely goes overlooked. Does anybody else ever find themselves, at the end of the week, they look up and they're like, wow, I barely really took any time out for myself. I know I have found that to be the case for me. Although I do try to do some self-care each day, and sometimes, and I'm sure just like you, it's almost like you don't have a choice. The day gets so busy, and so you just kind of, even if you sit for a few minutes and just take a breath, that is self-care, I have just read the definition. But in addition to that, sometimes the week has been so busy, we could have used more. I don't think I'm alone in that. So let me just go on in terms of what self-care is not. Knowing what self-care is not might be even more important. It is not something that we force ourselves to do or something we don't enjoy doing. Self-care is something that refuels us rather than takes from us. Self-care is not selfish. I repeat, self-care, it is not a selfish act. It is not only about considering our needs, it is rather about knowing what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves and being subsequently able to take care of others as well. That is, if I don't take care of yourself or myself, I won't and you won't be in the place to give to others. And that is so significant. I see you are on Facebook, or that is resonating with you. Yes, true. Amen. Self-care is not selfish. Absolutely not. And the point they talked about in terms of it being something to enjoy and being something that we don't have to force, I really do feel strongly that it is about being kind and gentle with ourselves. DeWanda, hey, I see you are also saying it is not selfish. If there's one thing we want to leave with at the end of this evening, is that it is not selfish. It is important. So, I was thinking about self-care related to how when we practice it, that we are revitalized, we are rejuvenated, and we're lifted, and we're able to move through life really optimally, powerfully, purposely, boldly, all of those things. In a way, we are able to fly, soar through the day. Hey, Janet, I see you're on. We're able to have like a bird's eye view, right? If we're flying, we're high above the matters of life, the issues of life. So we're able to stay above the issues of the day. And we have this bird's eye view. We have this perspective when we're able to fly that we don't have if we're not flying. And so in the spirit of thinking about self-care as it relates to being able to fly, I want to use this as an acronym, FLY, F-L-Y. And this is going to stand for tonight. First, love on yourself. Are you ready to fly? Are you ready to first love on yourself? I am. I definitely am. This really can help to motivate us to increase what we're doing in this conversation. So this is not to suggest that we're not doing it, but it's to increase what we're doing. Wherever we are, we're all at different places in this journey of self-care. And I also know that sometimes we do better than at other times, based on a lot of things. Again, one thing is busyness. Sometimes when we just have a lot on our plate, self-care can wane, right? It can kind of go by the wayside. Or sometimes due to situational stressors, we may not practice the self-care that we normally practice. We're just really trying to get through the day. So again, wherever we are on this, if you are stellar in self-care, yes, that clap is for you. If you are doing the doggone thing and putting yourself first loving on yourself, and very high in self-care. So we're flying tonight. And since we are flying, let's all get aboard this aircraft of making me matter emotionally. Let's take this flight together. Now, when you take a flight, one of the things that you have to do right in the beginning before you even get off the ground is listen to the safety instructions, right? Most of us at that time are trying to put our phones on airplane mode and figure out what we're going to read and thinking about what's going to happen when we're on the other side, when we land, wherever we're going. But the safety instructions are important. And one of the things that you hear when we're listening to the safety instructions is that the flight attendant will say, if the aircraft loses compression, that your oxygen mask will fall. If you're traveling with someone else that needs attention or assistance, what do we do? What do we do first? I know we already know the answer to this. We put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, and then on the person that we are assisting. And this is an analogy that is similar to our life as well, that we need to be putting on our oxygen masks. And we need to be doing it first so that we can show up in life, as I talked about before, optimally. So those that are depending on us can get our best selves. So we can give. Last week I talked about you can't pour from an empty cup. So this self-care is filling us up. And Allison, put your mask on first. Sometimes, as I talked about before, our life is going very smoothly. And there are other times when we unexpectedly hit turbulence. And then there are times when, again, unexpectedly, we just face an emergency. An emergency occurs, and at that time, we have to have the tools and we have to have the strategies to be able to manage. So this is like getting the safety instructions to fly, right, from what we're talking about today, how we are flying emotionally. Just like if we were on the aircraft, and there was an issue, and the oxygen mask fell, and if we weren't listening to the instructions, or if we didn't get the instructions in a moment of crisis, in the moment right when it's needed, we don't know what to do. And so tonight, this is kind of like preventative, right? We have the strategies, we know the instructions before the crisis occurs, or if we're in a crisis, even right now, we could begin to tweak some things. And then guess what? Yes, I know you already know this. We don't have to be in a crisis. Things could be going smoothly, wonderfully, and still self-care matters. It matters. So this is really a reminder that you can and should and must, even though we shouldn't should on ourselves, put yourself first, make yourself a priority in order to be available for others. And this is not just my opinion. It definitely has major consequences, right? We know it has major consequences. Too often we work overtime to make sure everybody else and everything around us is going well. Everything is taken care of. And then we put ourselves on the back burner. And so often this leaves us depleted. And we just can't give optimally. And we just are not in the position to be our best selves, so we cannot give our best selves. So if we're going to fly in life, if we're going to soar, if we're going to be that best self, if we're going to function optimally, we must use a strategy similar to the safety instructions. Put the mask on yourself first. I want you to fly. I want you to first love on yourself. And we're going to talk more about that. And I see Tracy is on. Tracy, you have shared. Thank you. And Tracy is shouting out to Tiffany. Hey, Tracy, this is Dr. Carla Cooke. I am sitting in for Tiffany and Lance for this week and for next week. So please, I hope you can stay on the full time and listen in to this important conversation and share. Not just share on the page. I mean, share in terms of, I really am curious about what you are doing, all of you who are listening, to practice self-care, what's needed. And, it's not only that my voice is important, but your voice is important. Other people are definitely going to benefit from your feedback, your ideas, some of the things that you are doing. And Donna, we want to avoid that burnout. So can we go a little bit further in this? Okay, so if we go further in this, let's say you have the scales of justice, right? So a measurement scale that's right in front of you. Now, if you're on the radio, you can't see me live. I know we're all visualizing this. I just want you to visualize these scales of justice, the measurement. They're right in front of you. It's on a table. And if you are on the right side, okay, so you, yourself, me, we're on the right side. And let's say your weight is touching the table. Okay, so that means the other weight is up in the air. You're the one that's touching the table. And so if you're on the right side and you're touching the table, that represents you having everything you need to function well. In a sense, you're weighty, right? You're weighed down in a good way. You're full. Alternatively to this, though, if you're up in the air, so we're still the right side, but we're up in the air, which means the left side is down on the table. That is kind of life. Life is happening. The stresses of life, the vicissitudes of life are happening. And so we're up in the air. We're not weighty. We don't have what we need. We're overwhelmed. Donna, like you said, there's some burnout that may be happening. That means our functioning is so much lower. And when our functioning is lower, we're suffering from fatigue. Our stress tolerance level is low. So that means if anybody just says something to you or looks at you the wrong way, they're not going to get the nice person, the normal you who would just kind of let things go. You may snap back at them because your stress tolerance level is just low. You may be overwhelmed by life or really having a lot of emotional upset. So the goal for us as we are thinking about these scales of justice is to have the scale positioned in your favor. The more self-care you do, the heavier the weight, the closer to the table. Is this making any sense to anybody? I know it is. That's just a rhetorical question, actually. So we are going to look at self-care, and I'm going to be asking you some things in terms of what you are doing. This is me right now. I love when we can be transparent. I love when we can acknowledge where we are, because honesty, being honest with ourselves, allows us to recognize that a change is needed. And if there is a change that's needed, right, if we recognize that a change is needed, then we're more likely to intentionally focus in on that area and shift. And so I'm believing that shifts are going to be taking place even as we are talking about this. I see someone else is talking about feeling overwhelmed by life. Life can overwhelm us. The difficulties in life, as well as just, good things, just living in general. having family responsibilities, work responsibilities, your own interests. Sometimes some of us are dealing with health matters, chronic illnesses, or just acute illnesses, or we're in the position to have to take care of other people, whether it's children or whether you're an adult caring for an adult, a sibling, or a parent. And so, absolutely, there are times when we can begin to feel overwhelmed, but we've already learned that we can tip the scale in our favor. We can be weightier, right? We can make sure that we're functioning above the stress levels. And one of the ways I want to talk a little bit about that is by discussing a self-care wheel. I see, Judy, you're saying, it makes sense to us. Oh, but with the scale on her desk, Allison in the house. Okay, I probably read that totally wrong. But Judy, I know you have that great sense of humor. Janice, you're saying, I overthink. And that absolutely, overthinking can cause us a lot of stress. It can keep us up at night, that we're overthinking. Then we wake up, we're fatigued. And then we're trying to move through the day, but we're not our optimal self when we're fatigued and overwhelmed. So, this self-care wheel, if you have access to the internet, if you can Google on your phone or you're sitting near a computer, this is something that is available on the internet. It is a self-care wheel. If you just Google that, it'll come up. And you can Google it even as like a PDF, so that the image comes up for you. But this is a self-care wheel that was created, I believe it was initially created maybe like in 96 and then redone, pretty more recently, 2013. And the woman that really was promoting this is someone that works with individuals that have experienced traumatic events. And the idea was that because they are confronted with so much trauma, because they're confronted with so many issues, that self-care is of the essence. And so, again, they could position the scales in their favor to be above the fray of day-to-day life. So I want to talk a little bit about the self-care wheel, and I'm trying to look at the comments as well. Okay, I'm seeing you. I see Carlene, you're going to Google that self-care wheel. And I know, Carlene, you work with a lupus foundation. I don't think you would mind me saying that at all. And I believe you actually have an event coming up pretty soon. And I was just talking about, chronic illnesses. And again, because whether we have a chronic illness or not, the self-care really is important and can be helpful. And I think for your agency, because I know you do workshops and things like that, perhaps this may be something that can be helpful for your agency. And just before I go into the self-care wheel, based on the fact that the person that created this is someone that works with individuals that have experienced significant trauma, I just want to again remind us that the Making Me Matter show, Tiffany and Lance, are going to be supporting the effort to respond to the tropical storm Florence in the North Carolina area, which was so devastated. And we can partner with them. I'm going to be partnering with them right here on Tonight. And in order to do that, what you can do is text the phone number, if you have your phone and you're texting now, is 201-982-7444. And if you're watching on Facebook, that flyer is right up so you can see the phone number. And you're going to text the word Florence, Florence. If you're listening in on the radio, again, that number is 201-982-7444. And you're going to text the word Florence. And the Making Me Matter show is looking for 3,000 individuals to partner with them in donating $50. I'm pretty sure this is tax deductible. And, speaking of trauma, it is absolutely traumatic to be displaced from your home and even to just have gone through the storm, so significant and so scary. And I know the people of North Carolina will appreciate anything that we can do. Perhaps you're not one that can do 50, but if you can do something, whatever you can do would absolutely be appreciated. I'm taking the liberty to say that, but I know that Tiffany and Lance would not mind. So as we are going back to this matter of self-care, I see on Facebook, Janice is saying she was in a domestic violence group. Oh, and they were doing the self-care wheel. But it has been a really long time ago. So this is really like a reminder and a refresher about the self-care wheel. So does anybody have it? Were you able to find it? I know I saw some of you saying you were going to go and you were going to locate it. So this self-care wheel is broken into 6 components. So there's 6 areas that we can look at when we want to practice self-care. And this really begins to organize it for us. We can look at self-care in the physical realm, how to take care of ourselves physically, how to take care of ourselves psychologically, how to take care of ourselves emotionally. So there's this distinction between psychological and emotional. And the psychological is more about mental health, although sometimes we use those words interchangeably. Very often when we talk about psychological, we're really talking more about mental health. And when we talk about emotions, we're talking more about emotional health. So physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, personal, and professional. And Tracy, you're looking for it. I will later put a link up, or if someone is already there, perhaps you can put a link up. But if you Google that, you're going to be able to get this in your hands, and I'll make sure I put a link up. So you can follow along with me, because there even are some people who are on the radio who may be driving. You may not be able to actually physically have it in your hand, but I'm going to talk us through this. And Janet, thank you for putting up the text number and word to donate for Florence, Tropical Storm Florence to North Carolina. Any amount. We're looking for 50, but any amount. So let's look at these different areas individually. And as we begin to talk about these different areas, I would like you just to kind of think about, how are you doing? How are you doing? A lot of times when I start to try to think about how we're doing, I like to rate. I like to use rating scales, because with rating scales, it kind of gives us a baseline of where we are as well as where we would like to be. So as we think about each area, so we're going to do this for each area, not for the total self-care. We're going to think about this like on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 would be, I am doing absolutely nothing. My scale of justice is way in the air. And a 10 would be, I am optimal. I am doing excellent. I'm all over this, or on top of this. So 0 to 10. And why don't we start, and let's see, if I could just spin this wheel, I would just stop on an area. Excuse me. Let's start on the physical. So, on the physical, very often we talk about exercise, and we know exercise is important. Exercise really helps the body to be strengthened and to respond to stressors and the stressors of life. What happens when we exercise, and I wish I should have had my I'm Being Well workbook open, because I actually have a chapter or a tool on exercise, which talks about the fact that endorphins are released, that exercise helps us to become mentally strong. it can help us to really be much more intentional and organized in our thoughts. So it helps our mind, and then of course it helps our body. We feel stronger. Exercise also helps us to sleep better normally. I always thought it was so interesting. The advice is that if you're fatigued, exercise. And sometimes we feel like, wow, I am like way too tired to exercise. But then if we exercise, we get more energy. It's kind of like homeopathic. They say that you give you the very thing that is the issue. So you're tired, but you do something that will make you more tired. Hey, as we're talking about this, if you're on Facebook and you are thinking about this area of the physical in terms of how you are doing, let me see those scores. How are you rating yourself between 0 and 10? How are you rating yourself on the physical? And then as I begin to talk, let's talk about what are some of the things that you are doing in the physical realm to take care of yourself, The self-care wheel talks about eating healthy, talks about exercise, getting enough sleep. We talked about this last week, this issue of sleep. And I equated drowsy driving, right? So if we're so fatigued, we haven't slept, and we're driving around drowsy, I equated that to drunk driving. That's what the research shows, that it's very similar. So other things that we can do in addition to sleep, take a walk, turn off our cell phones. We talked about this as well. And I'm seeing some scores. They are going quickly. This is a computer that I'm not all that familiar with. Oh, okay. I just figured it out. Here I go. I can scroll back. So I'm seeing some scores on the self-care. I'm seeing some 5s. I'm seeing some 2s, 7, 8, 10. Janice is at a 10. I know I see you posting all of the time. So you are always in the gym. Let me see. I'm trying to scroll back down. What happened here? Hang in there. Keep posting what you're doing. On Being Well 2:15. Okay, Donna has the On Being Well workbook open. You get, let me see. Okay, I'm just going to do a hand clap. Yes. Donna is looking at the On Being Well workbook. And 2:15 is on movement. The fact that we need to move. Someone else is at a 6, but because you need more sleep. But you're doing the gym. So we're at different levels on this physical. I'm probably like at a 5. And, I just, as much as I have to say that, but, because I said before, this transparency and being honest with ourselves, there have been times when I've been like a 10. I guess I make it 5 more so for the exercise, but there's other things that I'm doing. You see, as we start talking this thing through, sometimes we have to rethink where we are and even start to rethink that now, because sometimes we may be giving a lower number based just on one dimension of this. Okay, so I'm gonna up mine. I'm going to a 7, and then when I do my exercise more regularly, then I'll go up from there. But, taking me time, that's physical. Doing things like a massage. Anybody do a massage? Doing bubble baths. I love bubble baths. All of that is important. And then this is an area that is so essential, so key, and so critical. Medical care. Medical care. Are we following up regularly for medical care? If you were told that you have high blood pressure, are you checking your high blood pressure? Are you taking your medication? If you are borderline diabetes, or have diabetes, or anything, any medical condition, are we making sure to eat right? Are we making sure to follow up with our doctors? So this is important. Are we making sure to follow up with our mammograms? October is coming up for all of the women. You know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So are we following up and getting our mammograms? And so let me know, are you all over and on top of your medical care, or do you need to check in? Is it time to check in? You know, I hear a lot, people talk about not following up with the doctor because they're reluctant based on being afraid of what they may hear, that the doctor may give some bad news. And I think one of the things I think about that is we always want to be in the know. We want to understand what we're working with, because then we can follow through on some interventions. Sometimes we can find things early, and the earlier we find, if there is an issue, if we find it early, we can have early intervention. So this doctor appointments are so significant. I'm trying to scroll down on Facebook. Okay, yeah, there's been some comments. Let's see. So medical care, definitely following up. Okay, so I see someone's definitely following up on medical care. Are you ready to move on? Let's move on to professional. Okay. Now, in the professional realm, I know one of the things is that for many or most of us, work in environments where the work is kind of never ending. You almost could work nonstop and you still would have a significant to-do list. I don't know if anybody is there. I know I absolutely have to schedule a cutoff time because I always have work. There's really not a time where I don't have something that I can be working on. And I think the other thing, and I hear a lot about people that work for corporations or wherever you may work, wherever you may work within any industry, where the expectations are significant. So it's kind of like we're downsizing. There were 2 people who were doing this job, but we no longer have the funding for 2. We have the funding for 1, and you should really just be happy you still have a job, even though you're doing the work of 2 and 3 people. And so there are some things that we have to do to care for ourselves in the workplace. We have to put ourselves first, really, because very often, and unfortunately, the workplace doesn't. And if we have a workplace that does, then we are fortunate. We are fortunate. And so some of the things, and sometimes it's not even the workplace. Sometimes Shanice has a thumbs up. I'm just assuming that Shanice is saying her workplace is very considerate, being that her workplace is my office. And she didn't even just have to say that. But I do hope you feel supported and like you definitely matter, and that you can take the breaks that you need. I do check in on her and see how she's doing. I let her lay on my couch. Especially after she, I'll stop there. So anyway, back to the matter of the professional environment. I hear so often, and hey, I can also fall into this pattern of working through my lunch. Anybody else work through their lunch? And so some of the things we can do for ourselves is take time for lunch. Just take a break. In the I'm Being Well workbook, here we are again. I have a chapter on mindfulness and another chapter on nutrition. And I talk about eating in a mindful way. And so sometimes when we're working, we're reading, we're writing, or we're trying to think about the rest of the day, and we're sitting there eating, we're just kind of shoveling food down our throat, right? So taking time for lunch, it just gives you a time out. It gives you a break. Laugh out loud, Shanice. Also, setting some boundaries. The fact that, that this project has a deadline and it has to go out, and you're all in and you're committed to it and you're going above and beyond. And in addition to that, you have to go home. That you have other matters that you have to attend to. And as much as you would want to stay, that you need to leave by whatever time it is, by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever is reasonable. And so sometimes you have to have that already in your mind when you go in, that you can even say, well, is there something that I can do before I leave that's going to help? Or let me organize things so that in the morning I'm going to come back and I'm going to get right on top of that, right? Take a break to get away from work, Carlene. I'm just reading your comment. Let's see. Some other strategies that the self-care wheel identifies with work is to take a mental health day. Does anybody take mental health days? I do. I take a mental health day. Sometimes we just have to unplug. Mental peace needs to be practiced, and that's Allison's comment. And mental peace needs to be practiced, and we can't allow our work, our professional life, really to undermine that in a way that, sometimes work is no longer fun. We're depleted. We're not showing up in our optimal self, or really even able to give our best because we're overwhelmed, we're depleted, we're tired. Another thing, learn to say no. Learn to say no. It may really be that this is outside your level of competence. This is outside of your job description sometime. And I know sometimes it can be hard to say that because we value our jobs. Most of us have some kind of bill, right, that we need to pay. So we're not just trying to say, take this job and shove it when we say no. But we may really say, understanding that I'm not trained in this area. I don't have the skill or the capacity, or you've given me these 12 things to work on. So what is the priority? Right? So we can put it back in on our supervisors. Janice says, enjoy the weekend. Yes, enjoy the weekend. Take those days to just do you and focus on you. That's the personal realm. And so that's the professional. I think I'm going to move on. Wow, it's already almost 7:30. Time just goes very quickly. Janice, absolutely no means no. You're right. No means no. No is a complete sentence. Yes, it is. Let me do one or two more of these, and then I'm going to turn back to our announcements. And as I am talking about this, I am wondering if there's anybody who would want to call in and talk about maybe like your success in self-care. Maybe there was a time where you weren't making yourself the priority and something changed, something shifted. There was a moment of awareness. And then you really begin to practice self-care and you notice the differences. Give me a call. 973-845-4505. And guess what? Even as I'm saying that, the person that calls in, I'm going to give away something that Tiffany left. Tiffany, she's not here physically, but she is here with you. She's thinking about you, and she left a gift. I love this. It's a little pad. It's a small pad. I almost really wanted to keep this myself. It's a pad. It has the Empire State Building on it, and it's all in glitter. I like anything glitter, so it's all glittery. And men, yes, you can have glitter too. This is understated. So man, woman, boy, girl, feel free to call in. And if you call in to talk a little bit about your self-care practices, I want to give this to you. One of the things I like about this pad with the Empire State Building, when I look at it, it reminds me of strength. It reminds me of strength. And when we are practicing good self-care, we are strong. The other thing is it has, because it's a pad, it has like tearaways. And one of the things I think about, it can be used for many things, but perhaps like as a self-care card. That's a great strategy, having self-care cards and kind of just posting them or just looking at them from time to time. So you can keep this in front of you. I would love to give this away. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Give me a call, 973-845-4505. And Jay asks, what are your thoughts on Maslow's hierarchy of needs in relation to stress relief? Do you believe that the lower parts of the pyramid, specifically to your point, the lower part, the 4 levels need to be maintained in order to achieve self-actualization or peace? So I do like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with it. That kind of looks at the fact that there are certain basic needs that need to be taken care of before we can really get to a place, as Jay talked about, of self-actualization. And, I do believe that makes sense in terms of the fact that really at the first level is our basic needs: food, shelter, water. If we don't have the basic needs, very often we really can't think about other things, right? If your living situation in terms of maybe homelessness or living in a condition that's not optimal for you, if we don't have food, we don't have water, like those things are basic. That's physiological, right? We need we can't go for, I forget the number of days it is that you can go without water. For some reason, I want to say 3. Somebody fact check me on that. But we need to have food and water, or we're drained, we're depleted, we're tired, we're fatigued, we're not functioning. And so to get to the next level of the hierarchy of needs, we absolutely need to focus on that. And Jay, I'm just Googling, so I want to make sure I'm providing all the right information in terms of the various levels of that. So the physiological needs are first, then it goes to safety, love and belonging, esteem, respect for oneself, and then self-actualization. One of the things I'm just thinking about, Jay, as you asked that question, and this does relate to self-care, it's that there's a lot of models that are like stage models, and this is kind of like a stage model. And there's been a lot of conversation around, are there more stages, or can this be more fluid? Might there be times where the need for love and belonging, which is kind of like the 3rd level up, is even more significant than shelter or clothing or food? Might it be that in a moment like that's so much more important that we will forgo a meal so that we can connect with people that we love? So, Jay, does that answer your question? Let me know. I can talk a little bit further about it. I'm still waiting for a caller as well. So feel free to call. Does anybody want this beautiful, or do you want me to have it? I kind of wanted it anyway. Does anyone go shopping, retail therapy, and you're going shopping for someone else, but then you end up like buying stuff? Yes, I have that problem. I go and I'm like, oh, I want that. But I really do want to give this away. So feel free to call and I will send it to you. I'm going to move from the hierarchy of needs. Let me know, Jay, if that made sense, if I answered your question. But I do think that first level of the physiological needs are so important. Hey, let me take a pause for the cause as I am right here and just remind you that we do have a sponsor for the show tonight. As you can see, if you're on Facebook Live, it's Our Life, and that's Monique White. Monique is out of Houston, so anyone that's listening in from Houston, shout out to you. And she has a initiative that's really about removing our masks. She deals with topics like mental health, domestic violence. She has a show coming up next month on the 22nd that is about teen pregnancy. And although she's in Houston, guess what? Yep, she's going to be right here at the Making Me Matter show in New Jersey, coming soon. So keep listening in. Tiffany and Lance will let you know when you can listen in to Monique White as she is here, and follow her on social media at Our Life TV. And if you're looking, all of her social media connections are right there. And let's remember to be a part of the effort to support people in North Carolina that have experienced Tropical Storm Florence. Text the word Florence to the phone number 201-982-7444. So that is our announcements. Hey, as we're doing announcements, you know what? I want you to follow me. Yeah, I'm here. I was here last week. I'm here tonight. I'll be here next week, but I don't want to lose the connection with you. So would you follow me on social media? I'm everything On Being Well. O-N Being Well. On Being Well. On Facebook, On Being Well. On Twitter, at On Being Well. And on Instagram, on_being_well. So I'm going to be checking my social media to see if I have any new people partnering with me. And if you partner with me, more often than not, I will follow you back. There have been some instances where I haven't, so hey, I can't make any promises. But I would love to follow you back. And Alan has fact-checked, and we can go without water 7 to 10 days. Without 7 to 10 days without water. Starvation is 30 to 40 days, depending on how much. Depends on your body mass. So, okay, you're welcome, Jay, and thank you for that information on water. Okay, no, I'm just going to move on. I'm moving on. So, let's see, where should I move on to? I want to, maybe for the last, we don't have a lot of time, but for the time that we have left, I want to look at the importance of making me matter, making you matter from another perspective related to coping, which is related to self-care. How do we cope? So if you notice, I moved from the self-care wheel. Google that. I will post it later. And although there are suggestions in the self-care wheel, you can actually fill this out and complete this for yourself. It can be something that you use as a visual reminder to practice good self-care. And you can make some benchmarks for it. So as we move now more so into coping, what I want you to do is just visualize like a horizontal line that goes across your waist. Like so from, if you were to hold out your hands, it goes straight across from your left hand to your right hand. Now that's going to represent how you're doing, how you're functioning, right? And it's right across your waist. Now, we're going to do another line, but it would kind of be going like right above your head, so above your headline. And that would be representing stressors in our life. Okay, is everybody following me on that? So we have two lines, just kind of visualize this. One line is lower, it's across your waist, and the other one is above your head. And the goal is to close that gap between the two lines. Close the gap between the two lines so that we're functioning well. So if stress and life, the busyness of life and everything is at the head level and our functioning is at the waist level, there's a significant gap that's there. And to close that gap, we can do some work. I call this the work of being well. That's the space in between the two lines. And this is about self-care. This is about making sure we do what needs to be done to increase our functioning, to increase our capacity, to show up in life whole, heal, integrated, to live successfully. That's my definition of living successfully. And some of the things that we do to decrease that gap, right? Because we want that line that was at our waist to start to move up. So just start to imagine that line is starting to elevate. It's starting to go up, up, up. It's up near your chest. Now it's at your shoulders. Now it's at your mouth. Now it's right above your head. And then it's even above that stress line. We want to close the gap so that our functioning is as close to the daily stresses of life as possible. So we want to be close to it, we want to be at it, or we want to even be above it. That's when we're functioning significantly well. And so really the I'm Being Well workbook really addresses the work of being well. What we can do to decrease that gap. Remember, I told you in the I'm Being Well workbook, it gives you 21 tools and strategies to combat stress. Hey, if you're looking, I have it here. I should probably just hold it up, even though it's not that easy to see it. But here, let me put it over here. And it is available on my website, that's Sanctuary of Hope and Healing. Feel free to go and also read an excerpt. Actually, the excerpt on my website is about the work of being well. That's tool 1. That we have to do work. It's important for us to do the work. That gap doesn't just close by itself. And we don't just show up in life functioning well by not doing anything. We're all doing something. And now this talk about, tonight, this book, other reliable information is about doing it intentionally. Okay, if this is resonating with anybody, let me see some loves or some likes. Janice, you're going to order. We have an order. Thank you, Janice. That's for you. I appreciate you. I know a number of you have the book that are on. Donna had referenced a chapter. So some of the things that I talk about, and I just want to share with you in the time we have left, are some ways to close that gap. One of the things that's important, and I kind of talk about this first in terms of self-care, coping, and increasing our capacity to show up, is really paying attention to your breath, your breathing. Why? Why do I say that? Because breathing, right, is automatic. It just happens. But we're also able to control it. It's one of those automatic systems or processes that we have some control over. And what happens is that when we are very tense, when we are overwhelmed, when we're worried, when we're anxious, our breathing is affected. What begins to happen is unconsciously, sometimes we don't breathe, or we're breathing in a shallow manner. And what happens is that the body senses that something is wrong. Something is wrong, and it starts to go into crisis mode. And so then we're wondering why we're feeling anxious, why we're feeling more worried than we were, why we're feeling fatigued. And so this idea of breath and breathing is important, and it's really the first line of closing the gap. Just breathe. Even breathe right now. Even as we're talking, just take a deep breath. And I see Pastor Divas is on, and he is giving the book a kudos. He says it's a great book. Thank you. I'm glad you're finding value in the book. So breathing is key. The other thing is being mindful. Again, so often we're so busy, we're just kind of moving, we're not even really taking in where we are. We're moving from, point A to point B. Our mind is on overdrive, and we don't even recognize, even as we're sitting right here, like I'm sitting here. If I can take all of this in, that my behind, and just follow me as I'm going through this. This is activities called grounding. That my behind, your bottom, is in the seat. That I can feel it in the seat. that I can feel my feet on the floor, that you can hear my voice, that you can notice that your back, if maybe your back is against the seat. If your hands are touching each other, you can feel your skin, or they may be on a table and you can feel the texture of the table, or you can feel the material of your clothes. So grounding is making yourself become present. You're breathing, you're noticing what's around you, notice what you see, even where you are. I mean, you may be home, so everything may be so familiar, but there could be something out of place. So even notice something that you didn't notice before, right? That's about taking in the environment. And then notice what you hear. You may hear me talking, but there may be other things going on. And then just notice your body. Your body is present, and you're breathing, and you're starting to feel calmer. Just breathe. I see someone made a comment. Just breathe. Breathing, good point. Yes, be mindful of how you are doing, where you are, what you're doing. You know, you get in the car, just sit down, put your hands on the steering wheel. Notice what's around you. You know, sometimes we're like, I got to get to work. Put on the pedal and we're gone. You know, have you ever had that experience where you show up at home? You know, you've been driving and you don't know how you got there. Yeah, I've had that. I was like just in the moment, like my mind, you know, I was so in my head that I wasn't present in my experience. I know I'm not alone in that. Pastor Davis, mindfulness is meaningful and mood changing. It is a shifter. Yes, it is. Just to stop and become present can shift our mood. Jay said 90 seconds of breathing in your nose, 4 seconds, and out slowly. Okay, wait, let me start over. So Jay has given us a strategy. This is a amygdala hijack or hack. Sometimes, you know, they call it the hacks. He said hijack. So he's given a strategy. So listen up. Do 90 seconds of breathing. You're going to breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, and then out slowly for a count of 8 through your mouth. And he's referencing the amygdala, you know, the part of the brain that really is associated with fight and flight, our emotions. It helps that to begin to calm down, and it connects with the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part that begins to calm us. So I love that, Jay. Thank you for sharing. So let's all do that now. Breathe and inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. And then exhale slow, 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 slow for 8. And your body should be feeling calm. We even did the grounding. And then, you know, just notice your body. So we are going to be leaving this car call Cool, Calm, and Collected. Cool, Calm, and Collected. Just notice your body. Even like there's a scanner where you're scanning from the top of your head down to your toes, just slowly. And as you begin to scan, if there's any part of you, you're feeling any tension in your body, just let it go. So just notice if you're at your shoulders, let that go. Go down your arms into your hands, your chest area, your abdomen. Go through your legs, your buttocks. Go down your legs, your calves, your feet, your toes, and just breathe. And then just kind of check in at different parts of your body. Sometimes you may want to just stretch, you know, arch your back, everything gentle, everything very gentle. Remember, I talked about the definition of self-care when we first got on, and one of the points was about everything being gentle, being calm and gentle with yourself. This is not about condemnation or self-punishment or getting down on us. We are where we are. But thankfully, we have the ability and the capacity to elevate, to go higher, to shift, to change. We have intention. We have the mind to do it. Especially if you are listening in. This suggests that you're somebody already that cares about the quality of your life and your emotional life. And so even as we are sitting, hey, let me know how you're doing. Are you feeling more relaxed? You know, before, remember I had said that I like to use rating scales, and normally I would do this before. I would say, you know, rate where you are on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of the tension that you're feeling. And then we would go through these various exercises, and then you would rate yourself again. So, hey, let me know how are you feeling? Are you feeling relaxed? 0 to 10. 0 would be I am like almost I'm asleep, and that's why I can't type in where I am. Yeah, I'm at a 0. I'm like so cool and totally asleep as we have been doing these exercises. You know, I am just kind of looking at where we are. I've already given the advertisements. I want to just one more time talk about Tropical Storm Florence and the initiative that Making Me Matter is having, that you can text the word Florence to 201-982-7444. That's 201-982-7444. And you're going to text the word Florence. Donate. Making Me Matter is looking for 3,000 partners to donate $50. And donate what you can. So please partner with us. So listen, we are sliding into the hour where I'm going to be wrapping up. We've talked about this topic of self-care. I'm believing that for each of us, we're kind of more mindful in terms of where we're falling on this self-care wheel, in terms of how we're doing in our physical self-care, how we're doing in our psychological self-care, how we're doing our emotional self-care, our spiritual self-care. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe I didn't go through that, because for me, spirit is so significant. But let me just pause there, keep going through the wheel. Our personal self-care and our professional self-care, right? We want to see where we are doing. And as we begin to look at that, we can begin to enhance how we're doing. And, you know, when I talked about the spiritual self, you know, when we're looking at becoming spiritually mature, very often it's going to be important for us to really have a good grasp on our emotions, to understand our emotional life, to be able to be emotionally regulated, because our emotions come out of our soul. So, you know, when we're looking at soul and spirit, we want that soul to be able to yield to the spirit. Listen, even as I'm talking about that, I want to give you a heads up. Next week, you know, it's my final week. Guess what I'm going to be talking about? Emotionally healthy spirituality. That's going to be for next week. And so we'll come back to, you know, this area of spirit, and we'll be taking care of this piece of the self-care wheel. I want you to be here right at what time? 6:30. Right at 6:30. Check on in, and we're going to be talking about that. And I see people are feeling calm and relaxed. I'm seeing loves and likes, so I'm thinking you're really liking the topic that's going to be coming up. I see a wow, ooh, anger. I think that was probably a mistake. Either that, you're like, why are you going? Why are you signing off? We want you to stay on. Or you're just doing the whole range of emotions. So we're talking about emotions, but you're feeling relaxed. You're feeling very calm. We're thankful for Jay for sharing that breathing. Donna, very relaxed. Tawanda, feeling pretty relaxed. Janice, thank you so much, Dr. Cooke, to invite me to listen in. You're going to come back. You're going back to self-care wheel. Just time. I'm going to stick with it. Yes, because you were already doing the self-care wheel. You're going back. Lori, I'm glad you are feeling that this was great. And guess what? We're not even finished. We still have like all of 6 minutes. So let's get some more greatness in here. I am going to use the last a part of this experience to continue the relaxation. I'm glad you're looking forward to next week, Donna. Well, we talked about deep breathing. We've done some relaxing the body just using the scanner. So I've given you that. Those are 2 tools right there. And I want to do a guided imagery activity just for the remainder, for maybe the last 3 or 4 minutes. This is something that you can implement yourself. You can do this even when you're on the go, if you're at your desk, if you're in the car. Don't close your eyes. I know that you know that. Or just, when you wake up in the morning, you want to kind of pour into yourself and get refreshed after your devotion. You want to kind of just begin to get in a place where you're ready for the day. And so as we do this exercise, just follow along with me. If you're in a place where you can just be relaxed, just sit back, relax, and even close your eyes and just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in. We're going to use Jay's strategy. We're going to breathe in for 4 seconds and just hold it, and then we're going to breathe out for 8, the count of 8, and then just breathe in again. Just notice your body as you are breathing, that your behind is in the seat, your feet are on the floor, that you can hear my voice, that you can feel wherever your hands are, material, skin, your eyes are closed, you're breathing, your body is calm, you've checked, you've let the tension go wherever it is. You've stretched out your back, and you're just sitting, and you are in an extreme place of peace. And as we are now there, we're going to allow our minds to just take us. As we started out, we were on a flight. I know some people don't appreciate flying. So this is a flight where we're just stationary. If you're not somebody that appreciates flying, we're just on the ground. This is just a simulated flight. But as we fly, right, we're soaring in life, we're optimal, we're strong, we're mentally strong. We're going to transport ourselves to this amazing, beautiful Caribbean beach. Are you there with me? It is the most gorgeous, beautiful day on this beach. As you look into the sky, the clouds, they just look like cotton balls, fluffy. The sky is so clear. The weather is gorgeous, beautiful weather. It's perfect. It's sun. You can feel the sun on your arms, but it's not burning you. And you can also just feel air that's blowing. It may be blowing in your hair or blowing on your back. And you are just so in awe of the beauty that you are witnessing right in front of your eyes. You can look out on the water and you can see the sun just hitting the top of the water. Your eyes are closed and you're breathing, even as you hear me, and you just have been transported there. The water is amazing, all different shades of blue, and it's just quiet. There's really nobody around. There's beautiful palm trees, and you can see the wind is blowing the branches. The palm trees are just so lush, and they are so green, and there's coconuts. If you like coconut water, somebody has come over and they've cut open the coconut, and you're just drinking the coconut water, and it's so refreshing. Just taste it, you feel refreshed. And you're just sitting there and you're just breathing. And you can smell the seawater. And you can hear the birds. And you are transported. You can feel the sand under your feet is nice, it's warm. In your hands, you can pick it up, you can let it go. And we are there. And as we are there, we have come to the point where, all good things come to an end. But let's come to an end slowly. Just come back into the room. Open your eyes. Notice your body. Notice you feel good. You feel relaxed. You're ready. You're on fire. You're ready for tonight. You're mentally strong. You're functioning well. You're blessed. You're highly favored. You are someone that practices good self-care. And so give yourself a round of applause. Pat yourself on the back. This has been an awesome experience with you tonight as we have talked about self-care. Keep it up. I'm going to see you next week. Oh, I did it again. I'm at the end. I have to shout out to 8 Squad Rebel Radio. I did say it in the beginning, but they have allowed us to have this experience. I'm so thankful, so grateful. Listen, they have something for everyone. Different forms of music, gospel, hip-hop, R&B, various talk shows. Please go to 8 Squad Rebel Radio and like their page. Say, you've been great. Thank you. I hope you're back there. Not sleep, but fully relaxed. And listen, I will see you next week. Thank you so much. I see the claps, the loves, the likes. I will see you next week for emotionally healthy spirituality. And good night.